Everybody, Tim Kawakami here with my co-host on 49ers Plus Minus. It's Matt Barrows of The Athletic. A schedule release extravaganza, as it must be for all schedule releases, except for every other league. Only the NFL does it like this, but and I've kind of tried to push it away, but I can't do it. I'm doing a podcast on it, doing a podcast on an NFL team. You have to do a schedule special. The schedule has been released, and I have kept away from it. I've shied away for Matt Barrows to reveal it to me. You will hear my live reactions. I've heard, we know the international games. I probably can guess at a few others, but I don't know the schedule. Matt Barrows does. Want to be really clear here. We're recording this before we know other teams travel, but we know the rest differential, all the things, all the analytics guys are going to be coming in hard in the next, hour or so. I don't know them. I'm not going to look it up. I know that's the new thing for 49ers fans, is to complain about this stuff. So what? We're not going to do it with it. I get it. They're going to Australia. It's a lot of miles, as Barrows has written and others. It is the most ever in the history of the NFL. That's what's going to happen if you start the season in Australia. The Rams are traveling a lot too. Get over it at some point. All right, Barrows, any other intro to this on this 49er 2026 season schedule?
I believe the kids call this on YouTube an unboxing, where you get something in the mail and you kind of unbox it on camera. Just to reiterate, the circumference of planet Earth is 22,000 miles, and the 49ers are going nearly 39,000 miles. So almost double the circumference of the third planet from the sun. And it begins in Melbourne. We all know that one. It's on Thursday, September 10. That's the Netflix game. Now, the NFL has somewhat softened that long trip by giving the 49ers 3 straight home games after they get back from Australia. So they get back from Australia, and the following Sunday is a home game against the Miami Dolphins, 1:25 p.m. kickoff, Fox. And then the following Sunday, also on Fox, that's a 1:05 kickoff, the Cardinals are visiting. And then the week after that, another non-primetime game at home. It's the Denver Broncos coming with that big defense. So 4 games, one in a different hemisphere, and then 3 at Levi's Stadium. So I think that we can read into that was the olive branch that the NFL is giving the 49ers for this wicked trip to start out the season.
I'll just jump in. They have largely tried not to have a lot of 1:00 Sunday games early in the season at Levi's, because we know something about that, Barrows. No, it's not the electrical substation. It's the sun. It's going to be hot. Imagine it might be hot in Melbourne. Is that an indoor stadium? I have no idea.
It's one of those somewhat covered stadiums.
Yeah, so maybe it won't be super hot there, but it will be hot. The sun will be out. But I can imagine Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are happy to be home, not have to be worrying about coming back from Australia, playing one game, and then zipping right out. And you know what? If they win that game in Australia, which is in neutral field, they could get out to a really quick start here, because Miami don't know, new coach, new quarterback Malik Willis. We know the talent's way down. Arizona, I don't even know who their quarterback is. They're moving on from Kyler Murray. And then Denver at home, Denver's a good team, but Denver at home, when you haven't, Denver may be traveling, all those other things the week beforehand. We don't know. So all you favorite road analytics people, we're not commenting on that. That will come later. But that's a chance for the 49ers to get off a quick start. I'll just say, just judging from that, what's the date of that week 4 game?
Week 4 game is October 4. So probably still going to be nice and toasty on the east side of Levi's Stadium for that one.
Okay. Let's keep going. Week 5.
Week 5 is at Seattle.
There we go.
1:25, another non-primetime game.
Wow.
They go up and they play the defending Super Bowl champs then. And then they have a home game, a Monday night home game against the Washington Commanders and Brandon Ayuk. Maybe not. So that's a 5:15 p.m. Game. It's on Monday, and then the following week they go to Atlanta. So that probably does not make them happy that they've got. I think Atlanta is their third longest trip of the season, and that's now on a short week. So they're not going to be loving that. Oh, and that's also a 10 a.m. Pacific time start. So we have that's a definite body clock game for the 49ers. Now, after that, they go on their bye. So the bye is November 1. It technically in the first half of the season, but we'll call that the middle of the season. So here we are. How many games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in. They have their bye. Any thoughts on sort of that midpoint where we are?
Yeah, that 3 games at home would really be the time for them. Like, if you can shake off the trip to Australia, get yourself at least a 3-1, maybe 2-2 at worst. But I think you'd want to go 3-1 in that group. Seattle's going to be the tough one, but there's no impediments on that. It's just a regular old football game in Seattle, day game. I think playing Seattle in the day is better for them than playing Seattle at night, as it would be. That stadium really rocks. They've won games there at night, but if you'd rather, you'd rather play it day, like day game week 1 last year, and guess what happened? They win. It's going to be loud there no matter what, but it's not going to be cold. Probably might be rainy, but it's not terrible. Week 5, Washington at home Monday. You better win that one, because you got that between at Seattle and the short weekend at Atlanta. I'm sorry. But man, that is looking like you could go 5-3. Again, I hate doing this, but because we're doing this show, I have to. You can go 4-3, 5-2 in those 7 games. It's not, it's kind of built for you to do this. Then you go in your bye on week 8 is probably, they've complained about where their buys were also. Like last year was so late.
Yeah.
They've had other years.
They ended up liking that bye.
Yeah. It's like, take the bye where you're going to get it. You never know what the state of your team's going to be. But by that point, if you can say you can pocket 5 wins by then, let's say, I don't know that you can, but let's say, then you could get to the bye, and then the Australia stuff should be out the window. Whatever secondary impact of that game, of that trip, and we will be hearing about it, I'm sure. But this schedule is not set up for them to be punished by it, is my initial thought. Would you agree with that, Barrows?
I agree. They've got a trip to Australia. That's tough. But the rest of it is doable. There's one more tough stretch that we'll get to, but so far so good, I would think, on the early part of the schedule.
They almost always put them on the East Coast after their bye. So is that the New York game coming up here? Am I going to?
No, they don't. Man. Before we get to that, you didn't laugh at my Brandon Ayuk joke. He's not signed with the Commanders yet, but could be by October 19. Yeah. I just want to point that out. Okay, so they've got their bye on November 1. November 8, they have a half bye. They're hosting the Las Vegas Raiders on November 8. So they have apart from what you said, they usually send them onto the East Coast. It's a home game, and that's a 1:05 game. So it's not even in the kind of primetime afternoon spot, which is interesting for 49ers Raiders. Okay, so then the second tough stretch begins. The following Sunday, they're at Dallas, 1:25 p.m. start. And then, of course, is their November 22 game, week 11 game in Mexico City against the Vikings. So presumably, and I've heard that the 49ers players are pushing back on this, or might push back on this. They would go from Dallas to somewhere in Colorado.
Yeah, okay.
Which makes sense geographically. It's not that long a trip from North Texas to Colorado Springs or something like that. And then they would spend the week there getting used to the altitude in the Denver area. I think the 49ers players, because that's a 1:25 game, because it's in the central time zone, it's not an East Coast game, they would push for coming back. And then the question would be, okay, then if you come back, you just spend the week in Santa Clara, or do you then go to Colorado to get acclimated to the, or do you go to Mexico City early? I don't know. That'll be something that the 49ers have to kind of sort out from here on out. Okay, so that's Sunday, November 2. They're in Mexico City.
November 22.
22, right. Yeah. And that's a primetime game, so that's 5:20 p.m. So, they're going to get in late or probably early on the 23rd. And then they host the Seattle Seahawks after that. And that's another 125 game. So neither of these Seattle games is in prime time. So they have the defending Super Bowl champions. Last time they were in Levi Stadium, they were stinking up the home locker room with cigar smoke. And then the 49ers the following Sunday go to New York. That's their second longest trip of the season. Mexico City is not as far away as the East Coast of the United States. So they go in distance. Australia is far and away number 1. New York Giants is number 2. The Falcons game is number 3. And then the Mexico City game is number 4 in terms of distance. So that's a 10 a.m. start as well. And then they come back the following Thursday, December 13. They host the Los Angeles Rams. This is the revenge game for sending them all the way to the Southern Hemisphere. So that is week
14.
Week 14. Mm-hmm. And so then they have.
Whoa, slow down. You're going here. Okay. Unless there's a relations to some of these. Let's stop here. That's tough. That's a tough stretch. Yep. But you know what? It's going to be tough for the Rams. And I think you're coming back from the New York Giants. Of course, what do they think always when they're going to play the New York Giants? You're playing that stadium. Are they going to be healthy coming off that field? If they are healthy, that's got to be a 10 a.m. start because you got to get them back home so they can play that quick turnaround against the Rams. That's
a week turnaround. It's a full week.
Sunday to Thursday, Giants to Rams?
No. Giants to Rams is Sunday to Sunday.
Oh, I thought you said that was a Thursday game.
The next week is a Thursday game.
Okay, let's
go. That's also against Los Angeles, but it's the Los Angeles Chargers in SoFi.
Okay, there we go. There's a Thursday game. So then that's all normal stuff. I will just comment on the two Seattle games both being at 1 a.m. Sunday. The network, everyone thinks these games
1:25 p.m.
1:25. Everyone thinks that these games have to be prime time. I always say the networks, Fox and CBS pay huge amounts of money too. You can't give ESPN and NBC every single good game. They don't give them every single good game. And this time they're giving I assume it's Fox, but it might be CBS. Sometimes they switch it up. Both of the 49ers Seattle games would be huge games, day games, all good. Again, it's a rough stretch, but I don't think it's unplayable. I would have thought, coming back for a Thursday night against the Rams. That's why I thought that's a Thursday game. That's a tough one. But you get the Rams on a full week playing the Giants. You're going to be back fine on that Sunday. All right. How does this finish up, Barrows?
Okay. So week 15 is the short week, and that's at the Chargers. And every team has a Thursday game. You don't want that Thursday game to be a road game, but if you do, you want it to be your shortest trip of the season. And that's exactly what that is for the 49ers. So Thursday, December 17 at the Chargers. And then the following week, sort of the mini bye, they go to Kansas City, a place where they haven't won since ... 1982.
Yeah, I can't remember. That's for sure.
1982. Joe Montana was quarterback. So that's a big one. I mean, I think that the Chiefs will be resurgent. I mean, at least Patrick.
Is that Mahomes a Sunday game, by the way?
That's a Sunday game. 125. So that even that one isn't on prime time. The backdrop of that is that Patrick Mahomes suffered his knee injury in mid-December, right? Mm-hmm. So you would think that by December 27, that's almost 13 months, he's going to be back to being Patrick Mahomes by
So
that
that's all
point.
just throw in. They did not get a Thanksgiving game. They did not get a Christmas game. So I think that is nice. Remember when they had both of them a couple years ago? They had games on Thanksgiving and Christmas. A little rough.
That's right. Well, they are playing in Mexico City the Sunday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And then they have the Seahawks after Thanksgiving. Okay, so then they come back from Kansas City, and it's another Sunday game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Have not played the Philadelphia Eagles at home since, I believe, 2020. All those big 49ers Eagles games have been in South Philly. So that is a primetime game. That's a Sunday nighter, 5:20 on January 3rd. And then the TBD game that could either be the following Saturday or the following Sunday is at Arizona, which has been the team that they finish with quite often in recent years. So that's it. I do think that one stretch, the one that begins at Dallas, could include a trip to Colorado, has the Seahawks, and then it has a long trip to the Giants. Is the tough one, and that's going to be at a point where the playoffs are starting to come into focus, and you're jockeying for position with teams like the Rams and teams like the Seahawks and teams like the Dallas Cowboys and maybe the Minnesota Vikings, who ought to be better than they were last year. But those are all your opponents in that backstretch of the season.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of away games. It would make sense because so many home games to start. 1, 2, 3, 4 of their last 6 on the road. And then if you include the Minnesota game, which is technically a home game, but it's in Mexico City, it's 5 of their last 8 are not at Levi Stadium. That's what you get when you only 1, 2, 3 games of the first 7, and then if you include the bye week, only 3 of the first 8 weeks are they on the road. So,
and that's the opposite of last year, where they had a lot of road games early, but they had a lot of home games late, and the 49ers, to their credit, took advantage of that in the second half.
So am I looking at here only one NBC Sunday night game is the Eagles game? Is it only one of them?
Yes. Oh, nope. The Minnesota game, the one in Mexico City, is also on Sunday night.
All right. And then the Monday night games?
It's the Washington game against the Ayuks.
Okay. There we go. Yeah. The international stuff throws everything out of whack when you're looking at it because it just they have to put those in certain windows. I'm sure people will find reasons for this to be the most brutal, unfair schedule ever. We always see that. Obviously, the Australia thing and the Mexico thing in the same year, understood. But it's on the schedule. Other teams have to do it. The Rams didn't want to play the 49ers in SoFi, so they've got to travel too. I don't think this is an unfair schedule. I think this is a play it out and see how good you are schedule, unless there's injuries, unless there's some things we can't, really factor in. But there were injuries last year, and they got through 12-5. We'll see on the rest differentials. Again, you'll have to look up at other people, listen to other podcasts until we get back to it. We're not doing it on this podcast. But Barrows, I don't see any, other than that one trouble stretch. We know the schedules. They're playing the NFC East and the AFC West. There are some good teams in those divisions. This is what happens. You're not going to get a schedule full of easy teams all at home. With it's just not the way it goes. No Christmas, no Thanksgiving. You got the 2 international trips. Keep going. Play through it. See where you are. And again, anything you think is unduly unfair or unduly easy about the schedule?
Well, I mean, the week 1 game has to have the team thinking about, okay, who's going to make this trip with us? Yeah. Because they would have their 2 key guys right now, and who knows who's going to get hurt in training camp or in the preseason. But right now, George Kittle and Michael Williams are 50-50 about being ready for that week 1 game. And let's just say week 1 game was in SoFi. And by the way, they're putting down grass right now in SoFi Stadium for the World Cup. I would imagine that if there's going to be any football games that have grass, it'll be the early season ones. I don't know about that.
No, they're not.
They're just going to rip it out as soon as the World Cup's over.
100%. That is what the plan. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the players certainly notice that. You got to do it for the soccer players. Get the grass. The football players who are your employees going to get the artificial surface.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, I just wonder whether that would be a different course of action for Michael Williams and George Kittle if that game were at SoFi versus in the Southern Hemisphere, where you're going to be practicing for a week. You're not going to have your kind of normal rehab stuff.
15-hour flight. That's not
15-hour flight. Things swell up, et cetera, et cetera. So let's just say I don't know this. I would think that Kittle might be a little bit more of a possibility than Michael Williams. I don't know, but let's just say that both of those guys go on PUP. That means that they have to miss the first 4 weeks, which means that they miss the first Rams game, the Dolphins game, the Cardinals game, the Broncos game, but are back in time for that at Seattle game, which would be interesting. You would get, certainly from George Kittle, a huge boost of energy for that game in Seattle. So that might be something that the 49ers look at. They're probably not looking at it right now, but I guarantee you that that's how Kyle Shanahan's brain starts to work. He's kind of looking at these scenarios to begin the season. So I think that's an interesting dynamic to all of this.
Very interesting. I know this is how they think, but you also kind of want to win some of these games here, Barrows. Like, you don't want to outthink yourself and then start 2-3 when you could have been 4-1. And then, all of a sudden you're underwater a little bit, and you got to win that Seahawks game. And so I could see it for one of the, I don't know if they would do it strategically for both. They might end up doing it for both if they're both not ready.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they would strategically sit both of them for they could just have them inactive for the Australia game, right? Just
absolutely. And not take them.
That's what they did. Remember, they did that in New York the year they all got hurt in New York, but they didn't take like Richard Sherman. Like, Kittle got hurt the week before, but there were a bunch of guys they did not take strategically because they're playing back-to-back artificial surface games, and they didn't take him because they were in West Virginia in between. I can see them just not taking him to Australia. Again, you're leaving if you're leaving on Monday, so you're leaving for a game you would normally not leave for 6 days. You got to leave for this game.
I think it's going to be more than that.
6 or 7 days, whatever it would be. This is a big deal in the NFL. Those days are precious for NFL teams, especially for recovering football players. And, who knows? It might get dinged up in training camp. God knows we've seen that before with the 49ers. So interesting. I would just say maybe not. Well, maybe Kittle could be PUP, but I would imagine the idea is try to get some of these guys through this week 1 and have them ready for week 2. Maybe you have them on the roster and then you just have them inactive for that week. Hope the other guys hold up, and then bring him back for that Miami, Arizona, Denver home stretch. You're never getting another stretch like that again. Like that is something to take advantage of, I would think. But I understand what I understand what that is. I understand the opportunity there is, at least for one of those players. Anything else, Barrows? Anything else you want to point out about the schedule?
Well, I just want to underscore what you just said. They do have 3 home games in a row. They're all, 1 p.m.-ish time kickoffs. So the trade-off is that you've got most of your road games in the second half of the schedule. So that puts pressure on you to take advantage of that and strike while the iron is hot. I'm sure that will be a theme once we get to that point.
And it is to stay healthy. It is to keep, your stars as fresh as possible. Christian McCaffrey. It is a lot of things that we've heard about this team for many years, but of course it's going to be the same themes. They're older now. They've just come off an incredibly injured season. Can they get through this first 7 games to the bye in relatively good shape? Because they're going to need it. with some tougher games coming after that. Did you just call the Raiders a semi-bye just because they're the Raiders? Is that why you did that?
I did.
I thought there was some schedule reason, but it's just the Raiders. Oh my!
It's a mini bye. It's a second mini bye.
Raider fans are not going to like that. I was like ready to write it's like an extra day or in there or something like that. Nope, it's just the Raiders. If they can get through that Raider game 6-2, it's optimistic, but if they can, they can bear the brunt of the next games coming through. You wouldn't want to be 4-4, or certainly you wouldn't want to be 3-5. But I recall them being 3-5 a few times in the Shanahan era and having that big second half kick. I don't know if this schedule is set up for that. When they won those 10 straight games with Jimmy and then Brock came in, wasn't that set up a really easy schedule and they just kind of rolled through it? They played great, but that was set up for them to do that. I don't know if this one is set up for them to do that. It's looking at Chargers, at Kansas City, home Philly. That is an interesting little gauntlet with some interesting personalities with those teams.
The first time that this team has played Jim Harbaugh since he's come back to the NFL.
Yeah, played him in an exhibition game, but not in a real game. Maybe Trey Lance will pop up there, and Mike McDaniel. All the famous names are all back in town. So, well, actually, we'll be down in LA. I think I will go down to that game, Barrows. I think I will be there for that one.
Thursday nighter.
Thursday nighter in LA.
I should mention that they also play the Chargers and the Raiders in the preseason. It begins home game against the Tennessee Titans. The dates are fluid right now. The second one is at Chargers, August 20. And then they finish up at Raiders.
I was wondering about that because those are their exhibition teams they always play, Tennessee, whatever. But would you play them in a year where you're playing them both? And I guess they are. Well, those will not be very interesting games, Barrows. There will be nobody of the first team on either side. I wonder if Harbaugh would even play Trey in that one. He probably will just to get him the reps. But that is. I don't even know what the Shanahan would do against two teams that he's going to play during the regular season. Wow, very good. Tell me they're going to have a scrimmage against Denver too. What's going on here?
That's right. I forget. Is that going to be in Santa Clara? I forget where that is.
Not yet said that whether I still think they're wondering if they can do that. And what did you hear anything about how they felt it went last year? The 2-team scrimmage. 2-team practice, whatever we call it. Joint practice, I should say.
The joint practice. I can't remember one way or the other. I mean, it seemed to be good work on the field.
Yeah,
I don't know how
some grumbling about a little bit of logistics. There's no locker room for the Broncos, right? Or I guess they have the road locker, but I don't think they changed there or anything like that. Whatever. It would be great for us. I love those joint practices. I love watching them. Shanahan loves them, but sometimes his team is too banged up to have these joint practices.
Yeah, he's had to bail on joint practices.
And that I remember the timing was like we did not talk to Shanahan for like a week after that, so we didn't really get a chance to talk to him. How did it go? So maybe I got to throw that to him at some point. Like, how did those go? Are you going to do another one? How's this all going to work? Because those are good stuff. Those are great stuff to watch. He does like to do it against the Broncos, but again, you're going to play 2 exhibition games against teams you're going to play later in the season, and you're going to have a joint practice against a team you're playing later in the season. They do most of their work against the AFC West teams, and now they're playing the AFC West teams. That's going to be interesting. All right, Barrows, I think we got a lot of stuff out of this, of me just reacting live to these games. I'm curious if there's any major rest differential stuff. I don't know. I just think the international travel is going to be the main thing, I would guess, as it has been since they announced it. If there's other stuff in there, I would be surprised. I think the NFL is, like as you mentioned, the NFL is going to try to make sure the 49ers aren't screwed in any other way other than all these miles they're putting on. That would be my guess.
Yes. If you're going to quibble, and I think we know that 49ers fans do, it might be that they're coming off their bye and they're playing the Raiders. Ideally, you come off your bye and you want to play one of your bigs. Mm-hmm. Play somebody in the conference. You want to play somebody in your division. This is neither of those. So a wasted bye right there. So that's going to be.
Just get a win, Barrows. Just win. I heard somebody say that involved with the Raiders once. Just win. If you can get the win,
Yeah,
keep going.
you should put that up on
Yeah,
the
I think
wall or
that's a
something.
pretty good one. Just win, honey. No,
Darling.
just win,
Yeah.
darling. No, just win, baby. Just win, baby.
Baby. Yeah.
All right, everybody. That is the show for today. We will be back next week with a very interesting show. And if there's anything extra with the schedule, we will comment on it then. But we'll have an interesting little feature involved with next week's show whenever we do it. All right, Barrows, way to go. Yeah.